You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
Welcome back. Episode number 35. Brian, thank you for tuning in and making our podcast one of your weekly listens. And we're on the clock now, and you're passing time with us, a Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
Did the Viking Grinch steal your Christmas joy, Brian?
Yes.
It stole our joy as well. I think my oldest cried a little bit, and that made my youngest cry, and it kind of made me inside cry a little bit.
It just made me angry. It made me frustrated. It made me a lot of things. What it did not make me is merry.
Did you get a chance to watch that Packers game?
I also saw that, which, again,
how did it make you feel?
It made me feel like all the what ifs and what have yous, and it was all right there.
Yeah, it was all right there.
Yeah.
Did you watch that Bears game?
I did.
Okay.
Again, this recurring feeling of if the Lions just took care of what they needed to take care of.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yep.
You know that the Lions are playing the Bears this week, right?
Yeah. There was anticipation. There was excitement. There was, we're going to go. We're not going to go.
No, we're not. If you're not going to go, hey, wife, if you're tuning into the podcast, you don't have to divorce me because I'm not sneaking out of the house for a few days, heading down to Chicago. I'm going to be a good, loyal husband. I'm going to be hanging around the house and getting some of my honeydews done and watching a limited amount of football.
Limited. Yep.
Yeah. But does this game matter? Do you want to talk about that this week?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of different takes, and what do you want to see from your Detroit Lions who are now eliminated from the playoffs? Do you want to see them, battle to the end? Do you want to see them rest and be healthy? Where are we going to go from here?
We're going to talk about would the Lions rather win this week or lose this week? What's on the hook with schedules and draft position, and we'll kind of give our takes on that. Bill's rising from the ashes, and he's got more to say.
You know he does, and this is where he loves to live. He loves the offseason, the hopes of all the things that we can do, in anticipation for the 2026 season, where, the excitement's not dashed. The dreams and we can be 16 and 17 and 0 without having that worry is right there in the offseason. So.
Yeah. Bill likes a good fixer-upper, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's where that's exactly where he lives. It's exactly what he loves is here's all the things that we need. Here's how we're going to get there. We just hope that we make those proper moves.
Man, I had a friend growing up. I won't say his name. MW initials, and he was a real fixer-upper. And man, he just was a train wreck all the time. But the girls, the type of girl, loved a fixer-upper, and they would just go try to rehab him. And that guy got more attention from girls than anybody I ever knew. And they would watch this train wreck, and they just wanted to rehab it over and over again. And it never has been rehabbed, and like some people love that sort of thing. I would rather just have that like train just like on its tracks, hauling to the finish line and, like never stopping. There's no bathroom breaks on this train. We're going right to the goal line.
So why are you a Lions fan? Because I feel like as Lions fans, we're all kind of like in that we love a fixer-upper.
Well, it's because I was born in the great state of Michigan, Ryan. And, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to have a Yankee hat with a Los Angeles Lakers jersey. I was born into this, and I'll never get out of it.
And that's where we live. That's what we do.
Yeah. So we're gonna start some off-season chatter. Brian and I are gonna ask each other some tough questions. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have some reality gut checks in this podcast, and we're gonna keep you entertained. So tune in here. We're going to try to keep this 30 to 35 minutes. That hasn't been my forte in the past, but let's talk segment 1 about the upcoming game against the Bears.
Okay, we're looking at a 4:00 slot in Chicago. The weather is blustery out and nasty. You know, well, what are we gonna see?
Well, I think Ben Johnson's a competitive guy, right? And when he came to Detroit, that must have left just a stain in his soul when the Lions went for it on a couple extra fourth downs back when they were converting fourth down conversions. And put 52 up on him, right? Was it the number?
Yeah, that was 52 in week 2. You know, it was a good feeling back then when we knew we had their number. But now it's is this a revenge game for Ben Johnson? Is this a, you know, we have to stay right as Lions fans? Are we going to be able to you know, even compete with an up and coming Chicago Bears team, or are they even up and coming anymore, or are they there?
Okay, so like, what's in it for the Lions to win this game first? Don't mix these, and then we'll go what's in it for the Lions to lose this game second.
What's in it for the Lions to win this game is the Dan Campbell, like, we are going to tear and claw and grind, and we're going to do for every ounce of every game that we're here. And this has been my mantra since biting kneecaps and my opening presser to right now. And if I say, hey, you know, this game doesn't matter, let's sit everybody, does that take away from that presser? Does that take away from who Dan Campbell has created the culture of this team?
Okay, so Dan's got this moat around the culture, and we don't want that moat to erode.
No.
Based on a technically a meaningless game.
Correct. Okay. So we are a team that's going to fight for every ounce of that field whenever we have an opportunity to be on that field. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's a Super Bowl or if it's this 8-8 team that's going to try to establish a winning season or not.
So do you want the Lions to play their starters deep into the depths of the fourth quarter?
That's the question, right? That's
the question I just asked you.
For me, as a true competitor, I would love to see us just tear the Bears apart with everything that we have. But then there's the other part of me that's like, this season's over, and we need to be healthy going into 2026 because we're not healthy now. And so does that mean we sit Jared Goff? You know, does Kyle Allen get a start behind a decimated offensive line? Does Amon-Ra St. Brown get a start, or does he sit because his knee's banged up? You know, but at what point do you say this is the line and we don't want to see these guys? Because, you know, our roster's only so deep.
Yeah. Amon-Ra is not a guy that sits. He doesn't want to sit. No. So, and he'd have to be presented that idea by the coaches. Lions coaches aren't the type of coaches that promote something like that. Mm-hmm. You know, decimated offensive line. Do you get, you know, obviously you got guys like Taylor Decker that, you know, really probable guys where it's just like, take a little extra break here. We talked about Tate Ratledge. She's been our warrior on the line this year. Yep. You know, do you give your rookie a break because he's played a lot? Like,
you know, I think when it comes to rookies and it comes to younger guys, I think these are the guys that you need to see get reps and more reps, and the more reps they get, the better they can improve. But you mentioned Taylor Decker is, you know, there's bigger question marks when it comes to his health. It's the bigger question mark is he coming back?
Yeah.
And is this going to be the last time you see him in a Lions jersey? Or is he going to come back for the 2026 season? So
yeah, that will be interesting. The Bears, they got a little bit more on the line, but not a ton, right? They're going to be the 2 or the 3 seed, no matter what.
But there's a pretty drastic difference between the 2 and the 3 seed in that in that initial game, that wild card game, to who they play. Are they going to play the Rams? Or are you going to see Green Bay again?
Yeah.
You know, so.
The Rams, they've been kind of stumbling down the stretch as well. And Green Bay is limping into the playoffs.
And that's the thing. You know, Green Bay, since they lost Micah Parsons and their interior, their O line and guys, Matthew Golden and is Jordan Love or Malik Willis banged up? So it's they like you said, they're limping. Are they going to make their way through this playoff run, or are they going to meet the first team and be 1-out? And then you look at the Rams team, who, it's funny enough, Devontae Adams didn't play the last 2 games, and he's going to be playing, that week 1 of the playoffs. So, that makes a drastic difference.
Yeah, you saw him running warm-ups previous to the last game, and he's like, I'm probably pretty good to go, but you just don't want to overly test it and kind of stretch that out. So they played it safe. So it's 8-8 Lions. 9-8 finish sounds a lot better than an 8-9 finish.
Sure does.
In the offseason.
A winning season always sounds better than a losing season. I'd prefer to see us take it to the Bears and come out on top and feeling good about ourselves, rolling in. Is there season to season momentum? I think there is. I'm a believer that there is. But I think there's going to be a lot of question marks going into the offseason and what that might look like. So
I'm looking for the new line right now. The line is at 3, which is a very curious
pretty
line.
Even.
For a team that's a 2 seed in the playoffs right now and a Lions team that's reeling off a bunch of bad losses and a 3-point line on the road is, I think, Vegas is begging you to take the Bears, right? They're saying, like, we think the Lions are probably going to win this game based on that line, which is a bit wild. And that's not a prediction. That's just what Vegas is. They're trying to get you to do something here. And as a Lions fan, I don't want to do that. I'm like, hey, take the Bears. Right. That's the exact feeling that Vegas knows that, it's mental warfare when you're looking at those lines. So how would you feel the Lions beat the Bears? They dropped the other really meaningful games to make the playoffs. The Packers lose another one, and the Lions. Does that make you feel even more sad?
At this point, my sadness can't get any sadder, as you will. It is what it is. At this point, we are out regardless of the extra stuff that might have happened. But it does make you look back and go, hey, if ands and buts, we should have taken care of the Steelers, should have taken care of the Vikings. We should have even taken care of the Rams at the time. We had all those opportunities, and it is what it is.
Maybe I'll pull the audience here for the fans in the crowd. Would you rather win this game and beat your rival, or lose this game and get a better schedule next year and a better draft position? Thumbs up for win the game, beat the rival. Thumbs down for better draft position.
Don't give a thumbs down.
It's a pretty unanimous. I mean, so we're all in the same boat here. Right. We want to finish the season with a win, beat your rival. Slightly worse potential schedule next year, slightly worse draft position, but you go out on a good note. Maybe you carry some of that momentum into next year.
But there is a reality in, I guess, the 4th seed, and that schedule that comes with it. You look at what the 49ers have done this year, and being able to, be where they're at with a 4th place schedule. You think of the draft pick that comes with, being like maybe a pick at 13 versus a pick at, 18. There could be a drastic difference there.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no doubt. So let's get into this Vikings game.
Yeah. Do we have to? Do we have to?
6 turnovers, Brian, and really critical momentum swinging, or when they're mounting something. It was tough.
It didn't look. I said it on a show. This team looks broken. That team looked like they didn't want to be there. This team looked broken. This team looked like anything that could go wrong went wrong. There's something that needs to happen in order to fix this team, and I'm not exactly sure all that is right now. That can happen before the Bears game, but there is something that definitely needs to be addressed this offseason. And so the the positive outlook of this is something we talked a little bit about last week, is that when you make your way into a postseason and you have you limp yourselves in and you get to go to playoffs and things feel better in those realms, and you think like maybe things are okay. And so the issues that might still be there, you kind of glaze over because it's not as bad as it could be. But things are bad right now. An 8-8 team is not the standard that we set. That's not the aspirations that we had coming in. I picked us in the preseason as a 12-win team, and here we are, maybe having a losing record. So it just makes you feel like we might need to look at things a little bit deeper, and bigger changes might need to happen.
So those changes, they start at the coaching level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of your instant impact changes, but right below that layer is you're looking at, where can we fix this offensive line? Are the guys on this offensive line, are they the future? Are they sticking around? Is Decker going to stick around? Is he worth that cap hit to stick around? Can we allocate those resources somewhere else for another guy or two to come in here and really be an impact player on the line? Because to me, that's where the Lions failed the most.
The O-line was a struggle, and you considered like Kingsley Aguakin at center point. Where does he fit? Is he our third or fourth string center? We had Taylor Decker out. We had Skip playing left tackle. Mahogany, who is getting better but still coming off a broken leg. We have a rookie right guard, and we have maybe the best right tackle in all of football, but we just didn't have enough there. We didn't have enough there. And you look at the coaching wise, did we really have the best plan there with the guys that we had?
I'm getting a little worried on some of the offseason investments. I love JMO, but when you have a guy and you're building a team around a Jared Goff will make Craig Reynolds look like, or Tom Kennedy look like a all-pro NFL wide receiver when he has time. Mm-hmm. When he doesn't have time, he's going to make JMO look like Tom Kennedy, right? Because the Lions are dropping back. They're running these intricate routes. They're playing this brand of offensive football, and they don't have time to play that type of football.
That's exactly right. And so that kind of brings me to some questions. And I think we're gonna kind of mix things up a little bit. But so I have some questions for Rob. I came up with a few, and I'm gonna start off with, first and foremost, is the 2025 Detroit Lions season a failure?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a.
So what makes the 2026 season?
Right. Well, can we?
Okay.
Answer. Can I say? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Brian,
completely agree.
Is the season
our standard for 2025 was playoffs? I don't even know if playoffs were a minimum. I want to say a playoff win might have been a minimum. An NFC championship game was probably closer to minimum, yeah. And we all had Super Bowl aspirations. Yeah. We looked at our 2025 season and our roster and saying, like, we had like the same roster as 2024. We got to be better, right?
Yeah.
And here we are, hoping to have a winning season.
Yep. All right.
I completely agree with you. This season, to our standard, is a failure.
Fire from the hip. Question number 2.
Great. And then, so what makes 2026 season a success?
I think you reset it back to how we felt at the beginning of this year. I think you carry that forward. Your standards don't get lower, right?
Okay.
And you say the nucleus is here. There's got to be some changes. We had to take a step backwards to hopefully take 2 steps forwards. And those 2 step forwards are clinching the playoffs, hopefully competing for and winning the NFC North, and getting to an NFC Championship Super Bowl type ending of the season. So which means playoff victories.
Playoff victories, that means we are contenders again, yes. Right? We're contenders again. Good. I like that.
You agree?
I agree. And okay. I think that
You're baiting me for something.
No,
You're setting me up here,
I
all
think
right.
these are all questions that I have for myself that
Okay.
I'm interested to see your stance on.
Okay.
And so I agree. I think it's going to be tricky though, because I think we at some point put ourselves as a step back. So does the Super Bowl become still our standard, or is that our goal? I think it's still our goal, but at the same point, do we think that that's viable? Do we think that that's an attainable goal? Coming into 2026.
I absolutely think it is. When I look at this Lions team, obviously this broken Lions team right now, I think if you put them up against who are the contenders in the NFC, you name them from 1 seed on down, and it's like they're not a scary team. When the Lions are firing all cylinders, like I'd say, okay, give me the Seahawks and the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like the Lions, but they have some holes they got to fix. But you give me this nucleus back with a couple of those holes a little bit better going in the next season with generally the same mindset, the same culture, the same players, and I feel really, really good to very good about this team into next year.
Love it. And so I think I already know the answer here, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So in the 2026 season, is this a rebuild or a retool, going into that season?
You know the answer.
I know
right?
the answer.
So this is a retool. There's no doubt a retool. You categorically cannot rebuild when you have the type of contracts that have just been given out to these young nucleus of a Lions team right now. So you're mortgaging the future when you hand these contracts out. You're saying these are the guys we like. We like the coach. We see the window, and the window's wide. It's long. It's big. We're going to go for it. And you're not going to win the championship every single year.
And that's fair. The scary part is those contracts, right? And so that's where it gets a little iffy, and I think we'll dive deeper into this as the offseason continues.
Mm-hmm.
But those contracts, like Goff getting $70 million in the 2026, and Amon-Ra, and Ali McNeil, and JMO, all these guys that we're looking, or that we've already paid, and then trying to pay guys like Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, and Brian Branch and Sam Laporta, who are injured. What does that look like? Yeah. So those are all things that are going to be question marks that we'll dive into at some point.
Let me ask you a question right there off the back of that.
Sure.
Is there a contract that's been awarded in the last 16 months to kind of that young nucleus, that longer term contract that you are starting to have buyer's remorse on?
I have question marks about Ali McNeil. I know that he's coming off an ACL, and he probably won't get completely right until next year.
He came back early.
He came back early.
Yeah.
And that first game back, he looked good. But since then, he's looked subpar. Yeah. Right? I'm hopeful. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm hopeful. I'm just worried. Going back further, do you know who I'm most concerned about? Derek Barnes. I think we gave a decent contract to Derek Barnes. We paid him over, and we prioritized Derek Barnes over an Alex Anzalone. And I haven't seen enough of Derek Barnes from this past year to say, like, yeah, he deserves the money and he deserves to come back. In my buyer's remorse, I look to him and say, man, I wish I would have allocated that money towards Alex Anzalone.
He's got a contract that they can get out of relatively easy. But Brian, we talk about McNeil. I'm kind of surprised on that because the guy comes back early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Brian, is it true or false that you're a kind of guy that like gets into working out and then gets out of working out and gets back into working out, and you can do a little bit of this, right?
That is me. That is me. Yep.
Is it true or false that when you're working out and you go to run and you've been in the rhythm for a while and you go to run and whether it's 2-3 miles, it's not that daunting, right? You can tackle that.
I can tackle that, and it's funny enough is like I'm a guy that I can go for a stretch without running, and I can jump back into a 3-4 mile run and be okay.
You-
It seems like it's not nearly as daunting as maybe some other people might expect.
Oh, you're feeding me perfectly. Okay. So you said Aleem McNeil came back, right? And he had a good first game, right? So from not playing for a while, came back, had a good first game. So you just said, hey, it's easier to run when you've been running for a while, but if you've been off for a while, you get that first run, you can come back and you can jump into it, right?
Yep.
How do you feel in the next day or 2 days after that?
I don't want to run anymore.
Like you don't want to run anymore, right?
Yeah.
And you're not even injured. Your body's injured because you've abused it with potato chips and Bud Light, right? Like So you're talking about the finest of all tequilas, right? So you're talking about a guy that came back early that came from not normal conditioning, not normal usage, and showed spurts, but his.
Listen, I completely understand and I agree that there's a difference between gym shape and like game shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we're expecting an Aleem McNeil to play at a higher performance or elite performance coming off of this because we needed him to. And I think that comes down to that. We needed him to be play better than he did. And we didn't get that, but we needed him to. And so it's more of a wish than an expectation, I guess, at this point. And I think that we should have probably gone back, and I'm sure if I look back at previous statements, I would have expected him to come back and play at a high performance and be great. But he's going to need some more time to do so.
Yeah.
So in me saying that I have remorse of his contract is based upon his injury and being unsure if he's going to bounce back the way that he was before.
Okay. All right. Are you still the question master?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right.
All right. So we've talked about the expectations and if this season was a failure or not. We talked about a rebuild versus retool. So how do you fix the 2025 Detroit Lions going into 2026? What's our first move?
What's your first move? I think if you're Brad Holmes, your first move is to have that conversation with Dan Campbell and say, okay, you've pulled play calling duties from your offensive coordinator. Okay. Do you have confidence in this person? Is this person somebody that we want to trust to call plays in the future to be your offensive coordinator, or do we need to make some hard, tough decisions here and replace him? Same, you have a new defensive coordinator. This coordinator came in and he started off kind of hot, firing on all cylinders, and he's been figured out. Is this a person that you trust building in the best window that you have right now? Is the best window in our history of being Lions fans to go out there and win a championship? Do you trust these two to lead your offense and your defense? Because Dan, you are more of a CEO, and I want you with a little bit of your hands on everything, not just solely focused on calling plays, because you've shown the ability to probably not be the best play caller out there.
And can we both agree that he can call plays? He's okay at calling plays. He's pretty. Our offense is still pretty good when he calls plays, but we're a better team when he doesn't.
Yeah, we can certainly agree on that.
Okay. And so let me ask you this: we're having those conversations? Brad Holmes is having those conversations with MCDC at this point about his OC and his DC, and where are you at this point moving forward? Are you confident in our OC John Morton and our DC Kelvin Shepard? Being the guys in order to lead this team to a standard that we have this coming 2026 season, which is playoff wins, competing for an NFC championship and possible Super Bowl contention.
Yeah. How are you? One time I was out taking a test drive with my dad, driving a car. I was like 14 years old. He was trying to teach me how to drive, and I made a couple of mistakes out there. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, stop the car. And he had two options at that point. He could have said, get your tail in the passenger seat and watch how it's done. Or he could have a talk with me. He talked about the importance. We're on the road. This could have happened. That could have happened. You are a confident, smart decision maker, Rob. You can do this. Get back in that driver's seat, have confidence, drive the car. I know you can do it, and let's go. And the Lions had this whole season to put that driver back in the seat and say, earn that confidence back. But they've ripped that confidence out. They put him in the passenger seat. There's no fixing that.
So John Morton's out.
John Morton's gone.
Okay. So we're looking for a new OC, or we have to consider DC continuing to call plays. But we both agreed at this point that DC's a better overseeing all and having someone call plays for him so that he can, have his hand in all the little details that is the Detroit Lions. Is that correct?
I would rather Dan Campbell game plan with his O coordinators and let them call plays than play call himself.
Okay. What about Kelvin Shepard?
This is an interesting test case. I think he's a classic players coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think the players absolutely love him. He seems like a guy that actually could be a very good head coach with the right strong coordinator someday.
Yeah.
But when he's in charge of coordinating that defense, he's got to mature into a guy that's willing to look at himself in the mirror, know that he's a coach, not a player anymore. And I don't know what's going on in the conversations behind the scenes. If there's not enough tough conversations going on behind the scenes where he has to be the adult in the room. But there's either got to be a maturation or there's got to be a demotion or thanks. You're going to grow from this. You're a young guy. You'll be a better coach, but it's not going to be with the Detroit Lions.
And it's funny because I have a teenager myself, and I feel like I have a kid who is pretty mature for his age, and I pretty responsible for what he is able to do, and I'm going to give him credit for that. But at the same time, he's still going to make mistakes, and continually, we have to teach along the way. But am I going to be in trust of my 13-year-old to drive the car down the road? No, he's got some learning to do before he gets there, right? Can he drive it down the driveway? Sure. I'll give him the keys to can you adjust and repark this car down the driveway? But I'm also not going to make sure that he has complete reign to go where he pleases and make the decisions on his own. I'm going to be there to guide him along the way. But I think in this window, we need somebody that has the ability to make those decisions and to be able to guide this team towards success. We don't have the luxury of maturing a coordinator into what is going to be. I think Kelvin Shepard's going to be successful someday, like you said. I just don't think it's today, and I don't think it's 2026 either. I think there's still some maturing to be done. We need someone established now, knowing and has seen the ins and outs. Somebody who knows and is able to make adjustments along the way quickly in order for us to be successsul.
Brian Flores.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, so,
can you?
Yeah, we talked about that pre-pod. Not going to happen, but interesting.
Throw him the money, man. I love it. So let me ask you this next one. Who do you feel is most to blame right now for this 2025 failure of a season? Is it Brett Holmes? Is it Dan Campbell? Is it Jared Goff? Is it the O-line? Is it John Morton? Is it Kelvin Shepard? And I know the easy answer here, but where do you feel like is the most to blame?
I think that the blame has to go to Dan Campbell for this year. And I think it's Dan Campbell having the window wide open and going to two coordinators that he knows that were slightly green and maybe not ready to lead this team to go further, with a caveat that going in the year with a Frank retirement kind of coming out of the woodwork, the Lions having some cap issues where they couldn't go out there and acquire a big offensive lineman to plug those holes. But the offensive line was leaving this team in a world of hurt.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I feel for Dan Campbell because I think he was in a spot, and I think the easy answer is probably a combination of all of these things all tied into one. But I feel like Dan Campbell would, as the leader of men, take that upon himself and say, yes, this is my fault. This is what I need to do better. This is my team, and this is going to be me making those hard decisions moving forward. And as Dan Campbell, we've seen before with Anthony Lynn, in 2021, he made those hard decisions. And I think that, even though we love our guys, I think he is going to be able to make those hard decisions moving forward.
Yeah. All right.
So let me ask you this: MCDC is being the guy that's at blame. Is his message of, if you run through this wall for me, if you get fired up and you're excited, we're going to have success? Is that message that he continues to give now going into year 6, moving out of year 5, getting stale for this team?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If that message does get stale, it's time to move on from Dan Campbell, and it's absolutely not time to move on from Dan Campbell. There's probably 27 other teams that would instantly trade their head coach for Dan Campbell right now.
I love it. I agree. I don't think that Dan Campbell's message of like, hey, you play for me, I'll play for you, I'm going to give my all and everything for you every single opportunity I get, and you give the same in return. I think that message has got to be true, which is why I think it's very important for us to give our all against the Bears right now. So,
all right.
And final question. What's your level of confidence going into the 2026 season?
If the Lions do a couple of these things that we're talking about, they look at themselves in the mirror, and even if they don't make the changes at coordinator positions, if they come out and they explain what they think is going on, what their fixes are, if they go into this draft and they address some of the areas that they really need to address, and it's hard to plug a rookie in and have a ton of expectations for your rookie to be a top 10 offensive tackle in the NFL or offensive guard or center. But they plug some of these holes. They get a little bit creative on some roster management. It's 10 out of 10 next year.
All right.
It's absolutely going in there, feeling the same way I went into this season because the nucleus is there, the coach is there, and I think the Lions are really, really close. They just really crumbled down the stretch this year.
Yep. I don't disagree. I think that we have a couple things that need to be adjusted. I think that it might start with a Jared Goff restructure, and being able to open up some cap space in order to give us some flexibility. But at the same time, I love this roster. I love the core. I love Dan Campbell. Might not be a popular opinion, but I love Brett Holmes. And I think that this is the regime that gets us there. But I do think that O-line needs some fixes. I do think that we need some experience at OC and DC. And I think that we need to look maybe outside of the box of Dan Campbell and a very similar mindset. Maybe a Mike McDaniel, if for any reason gets let go from Miami, he does not, to me, scream grit, and he does not scream to me Lions, but he does scream to me a different perspective. And a different perspective sometimes opens eyes of how I look at things, and it allows me to look at things in a different way to make it better. He's
got a little Ben Johnson in him, though.
He does.
Like that. So that could work with Dan Campbell, kind of making sure
just
that you're
mad, scientist, crazy, just this craziness behind him that just, this orchestrator of maybe what we want to do.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't come to everybody, and I think that might come to him, and it might really fit well with this team. So,
yeah, I like that.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm Brad Holmes for life. I mean, I'm Dan Campbell for life, and I'm still Jared Goff for life, man.
Yeah.
I think among a lot of other players, but those are some controversial figures in the room right now that are taking a lot of heat. That we're just spoiled, y'all. Geez, we got a lot of good things going on. There's a few things that went wrong. The train got off the tracks, but the window's not 1 year. They have some time to go. and they're gonna fix these things.
And I think that these guys are aware and smart enough and humble enough to recognize that when they make good decisions and poor decisions, and what needs to be adjusted and what might not, what needs to stay the course. And I think that we're going to get that train back on the track that it needs to be, and we're going to find the success. Maybe not in week 18, but in the 2026 season. So.
Well, I lied to y'all because we're breaking past my time period. But we gotta talk about Bill's bullet points.
Sure. So Bill and I have been, he's been bantering back and forth, and he's been sharing. He's excited about the off season coming up because that's where he lives. That's where he finds comfort. There's not, these huge roller coaster of emotions and ups and downs. We can find the success in all the things that happen in the off season. But I do believe that Bill has similar feelings to what you may have shared and what I have shared. He at this point is believing that Goff's contract is going to be a sucker of what we can do in this offseason, and that we need to either retool or renegotiate his contract to find space, or we need to find a cheaper version. But he still loves Jared Goff, and he is a true believer in Jared Goff. He just doesn't like the contract. The $70 million that he is going to demand in next year is going to be a killer in anything that we want to do. And if we want to keep Jared Goff standing upright to make those pristine passes, we need an offensive line and we need money to do that.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah. All right.
He talked about MCDC this last interview, his presser with him, or the interview on 97.1 The Ticket, where they asked him a little bit, hey, talk to me about Jared Goff. And he's like, no, this is our guy. He's a stud. He's our guy. He's not going anywhere. But then they asked him about Kelvin Shepherd. He's like, oh, we got a game this week. We got to focus on the game. He's doing a good job. We got to focus on the game. Everything's going to be looked at, moving forward. And he's like, looking at those two comparisons moving forward, there may be some hard decisions moving forward. And I'm going to tell you, Bill is not a believer in Kelvin Shepherd. He's not a believer in a rookie coordinator in a Super Bowl caliber team. You wouldn't put a rookie at quarterback and a rookie at center if you are hoping to win a championship. That you just wouldn't do that. Can you see that in a rebuilding or retooling? Sure, but you're not looking to win a championship in those realms, and you wouldn't do the same with a rookie coordinator. And I think that's what we're seeing with Kelvin Shepherd is he's been outcoached. And that's what's I think Kelvin Shepherd is going to be successful, in 3 or 4 years moving forward, but our window might close before that time.
Yeah.
So.
And not just a rookie, but I mean, not a long coaching tenure at all.
Right.
A long playing tenure.
That's
for
fair.
Sure, but not a long coaching tenure. Anything else?
I mean, right now we have to decide what we want to do moving forward. So Bill at this point is like, he's excited about the offseason. He wants to look at drafts. We're hoping to see him, come on the pod at some point, whether he's like breaking down film or he's like sitting next to us or remotely, adding his 2 cents. But we're pulling him in here.
Yeah, Bill, come on, man, let's go.
Let's go.
We got lots to talk about. Is there anything? I mean, maybe let's end with this, Brian. Let's end on a better note. How was your Christmas?
Christmas is great, man. So I don't know if you looked, but got a puppy, and the kids loved it. Really much. It was a surprise. It turned out to be a Christmas morning, deal, and they were very excited. So.
Yeah. Do you want to shout out a fan that's been watching us religiously all year that know that it's just like, hey, man, we appreciate you? Anything?
Miss Elizabeth, thank you so much. She sent us a Christmas card.
Okay. We
We really appreciate Miss Elizabeth. You did a great job. We appreciate you. You just keep watching, and thank you so much.
Yeah. Nice. I'll send a shout out to my sister Nikki, who I think is one of the biggest fans of the pod. She asked, hey, you've been sending a lot of love out there. I haven't heard my name drop. We spent a good Christmas day with her. Nikki and I like to have a libation and just give each other lots of love in a different kind of way. A lot of jabbing, a lot of poking, a lot of making fun of each other. But it's all love. We always had a lot of fun around Christmas. And then maybe a couple other, Dr. Botke, T-Rob, Lalone, people have just been with us this whole year. It's been a lot of fun. So
yeah,
as Christmas season, we're thankful for y'all. Thankful for the family. Obviously, we're recording this at 11:30 at night. I have a 2-month-old kid that doesn't sleep at all through the night. So thank you to my wife who allows me to go down here and have a drink with you and record these. So
and thanks to Rob, because I mean, I don't know if you noticed, this wasn't Rob's most excited time to come down and put on the spot.
I hope
for
you
each
didn't
and
notice
everyone.
this.
But we appreciate you. Even in those times, like you're coming off a rough loss, coming off a time where we question our fandom, we question our Detroit Lions, we question why we're doing this, but yeah, we still do it, and we appreciate. I appreciate you, Rob. I appreciate you guys watching. So.
When we signed up to do this pod, we said, all right, hey, let's do this. We're euphoric. The Lions are going to win the Super Bowl. There's no doubt about it. It is going to be, we're coming off a 15-win season.
Yeah, let's start a podcast. I mean, how fun could it be?
And we just weren't fully prepared to get to this point where we're just so disappointed. There's not much to talk about, but we're growing. We're getting better. And I think this offseason is going to be great because I think we're the kings of the offseason podcasting anyways.
Yeah. And we're going to have some fun stuff. We're going to break down the Brad Holmes. We're going to break down the draft picks. We're going to break down, the MCDC decisions. We're going to look at what we're going to do, moving forward. And what do we need to do in the 2026 season to be Super Bowl champs?
So. Yeah. So thanks to you for following, watching us, listening. If you didn't get shouted out and you want to put your name in the comments, you know what? For all those comments that we get, as long as the names are politically correct, we'll shout you out next podcast. So we appreciate it. Anything else before we sign off?
Hey, just follow us. We're still trying to get on that algorithm. So check us out on TikTok. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube and anywhere you can find your podcast. So.
Hey, thanks for passing time with us. Stay gritty. Go Lions. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.